To that point, our next speaker is Mrs. Barbara Manino. She is a communication and content strategist and consultant. She helps her clients to break through the noise, to stand out in the marketplace and grab the attention to drive their growth. Now, she's a seasoned journalist for the mainstream and the financial press, and a Fortune 500 marketing writer and editor. Barbara uses her talents in word and storytelling to really help people connect with their audiences through their content, communication, and presentation. She's a captivating speaker to business marketing professional groups, and she talks through storytelling and communication dynamics. She also just recently she and I became friends, and I've gotten to work with her and learn more about her. She did have a little bit of a health scare, and we didn't know if she could come on, and she's like, no, Helmut, I am so excited to talk about my favorite thing, which is communication and content. Let's do it. So I'm so glad that she's able to gift us her time today. Welcome to the stage, Miss Barbara Manino.
Manino,
I'm
yeah.
having so much fun with your name, Barbara.
Thank you so much. And it's really great to be here. And it is true, I had a health event. I ended up in the hospital for a few days till yesterday, but I knew I had to follow through on this commitment because it was going to emotionally ground me and not make me want to sink into a pillow. And that's so important and very relevant to what you and Christy were talking about, which was a wonderful, wonderful discussion. And actually, a great jump off for content.
It is. It is. And I'm so glad that you are doing that. It's so much of our world is about showing up, doing the thing, closing the commitment we made. I'm glad, of course, naturally that your health allowed for it, but I'm also glad that you have the heart set, right? That's something that's important in your life. And as we talk about leadership, which is why we're here, so much of leadership's just that. So much of the leadership in our lives is about honoring our commitments. So, Barbara, to that point, just if you're talking about leadership, content, the world of business, right? Because the reality is we're all out there trying to create something of value for other people. How does love play into the leadership game from your perspective and your lived experience?
So I think that's such an interesting question because love and leadership are not topics that people would automatically couple, right? And probably there was even a time, maybe not so much now, but definitely in the past, and I'm sure it still exists in many companies, where people would think love is kind of a little too hardish, sissy-ish for a strong leader. But I feel to the contrary. And as, by the way, as a writer, I'll take a word and I'll go with its real definition. But in my head and my heart, I expand that definition. So I think love belongs in companies, just like I think emotion belongs in companies. Because in that word love comes empathy, understanding, respect, and interest in other people, collegiality and partnership. And to the point of what you were talking about with Christy, I feel if you cover that base, the love base, the friend base, you make people feel at ease. You make them feel comfortable in their own skin. And when people are comfortable in their own skin, fabulous just is. And great things can happen in terms of their productivity. So I'm all about love in the workplace. And I want to add that I heard a podcast on which Simon Sinek said someone, a friend of his, said goodbye to him and gave him a hug and said, I love you. And he said he was taken aback for a moment. And he thought about it. And he thought that it sounded nice and expressed something deep and a lot, not romantic love, but all those things I said, the empathy, respect, etc. So he started saying it to his friends. And some of them maybe bristled at first or were a little put off. But like him, the more that they thought about it, they apparently liked it because they started signing off in the same way. So, yes, leadership and love, they can go together, and we definitely need more of it.
We do. I could definitely see how you're so good with words as you're talking. It's such a clear gift because of how well you've articulated, right, this concept. And it's really true. It's interesting to me because I, I was so attuned to thinking of business as the battlefield war, right? You're going to take, right? Which is sort of a loser lose game. Like it's a win lose game, right? As opposed to a win win game. Um, which is really, if you think about it, having a team of individuals who are really passionate about serving other people, right? That's a win-win game. That's a win-win game, and everyone wins in that game. Um, I think it's interesting as well, the sign off, right? The I love you.
Yeah,
I
isn't
I'm
that
just gonna
something?
yeah, I'm just gonna throw in that I have experienced in the last year, I do the same thing where I'll just say, hey, I love you. And then you're like, did I just say that? And you're like, yeah, I did. I did. Because you know what? I would care about you. Right? Think about all these people we hang out with. Where you hang out with
Yeah,
all these colleagues for hours
yeah,
and hours, and you never even said that you cared about them. Like,
yeah. I love, yes, exactly. It's all about the care, right?
it is. It is ultimately about the caring. And I'm curious about how content and leadership in terms of what the content really does to show and demonstrate, right? The love that we have in our leadership. How does the content piece fold in with that?
And that is exactly why content is so important. And content is a combination of art and science. I call it content with a capital C because it includes story, which is your emotionally driven tool. It includes information, but that information is value driven and anticipates what does your right fit customer, and a little ring beyond that, what do those prospects need to know about your zone of genius, your industry, and how what you do can serve them by either solving their problem, helping them fulfill their hopes and dreams, and ultimately providing the transformation in their lives and their business. So, content is important because it is the communication vehicle, whether you are promoting your company or as a leader or even a colleague, you are revving up your team, choosing the right words, morphing them into great stories, providing insights of value, doing it so precisely and in such a way that people just feel. They take in the information, but they feel, and they begin to see that what you're saying answers their number one question: what's all about it? What's in it for me? And shows them that maybe this gal or this guy can help me because he or she gets me. And sooner or later, as they keep engaging with you, and that's what the great content does, it keeps them engaging with you. They build the trust that will ultimately get them to do something. If you're an entrepreneur or a business person, to buy your product or service. If you're a leader or even a team member, it encourages them to get on the bandwagon and be collaborative and have the courage to express themselves and share their ideas so that at the end of the day, a project comes out even better than what one could have anticipated. Content can make that happen as long as it's done right. And that is an art and a science job.
It is. It is. I sit here and I think about there was a diagram I showed at the beginning where it's really about our thoughts and our feelings, right? Which you were kind of speaking to, right? The emotions and the thoughts, the content that we have is expression of both the science and the art. And you know how many of your businesses today, you have great intentions, you have wonderful plans, you really want to help clients, but people don't really get it because it's not landing with them because you're not using maybe the right words or the right emotion or the right frequency of those. I think that so much of our leadership, you can have great intention, you have great thoughts, great feelings, but if they don't land with your ideal client, you kind of just missed the opportunity, right? So this communication, right? This part landing with someone can make or break your business.
Well, it is the window to the customer experience. It is the window for a prospective employee to say and to know or to feel pretty intensely, yeah, this is the right place for me, the right culture, the right team. Content is very relational. It's all those things that you and Christy were talking about. It sets expectations. And once again, it puts people at ease. It makes them feel 10 feet tall. And a connection, a bridge is created. And an action is then taken. They'll work with you. If you're an entrepreneur, they'll be your client. If you're a leader, they'll be a productive member of your team. And they will increasingly have passion. When you have passion and energy, and when you're comfortable in your own skin, you project that passion in an energy that's all yours. It's really a wonderful, wonderful circle and very rewarding. So content serves more than just outward what people are perceiving you. The more you get into content, the more you decide, find the right words, the deeper you dig to find your gifts. My goodness, it's self-empowering. And you start thinking, I feel a little bit 10 feet tall myself. And it just, I don't know, it makes you magnetic, mesmerizing, and you attract people to you just because you're exuding. Again, it's a great way to live life. It tumbles from business to life. It's wonderful.
It's so interesting because you think about content and how powerful and how responsible you have to and get to be, right? Because you can use your content to do all kinds of things, right? You can create discord or you can create teamwork, right? You can create fear. You can create a sense of love. You can create a sense of urgency. You can you can create a sense of peace,
Yeah.
all with the content you're creating. And as I think about this, for all of you all who are listening to this, how many of you feel like you've got like scale 1 to 10, what's your content game? I don't know about you, but I often am not aware that I'm like, you know what? Your email is a content game. Your texting, it's content, right? The stuff on your website, of course, we'll go, oh, well, that's content. You know, social media, well, that's content, right? But every communication, even what I'm wearing to some degree, it's content, right? It's always communicating something to the outside world. And if you think about your business leadership, whether executive, whether political, whether non-profit, whether you're a solopreneur or whether you're just a worker inside of a system, you're constantly communicating your content of who you are and you're constantly communicating a message, right?
Yes, I love that expression, the content of who you are. And I see content along that line as the language of your brand. That's why the words are like jewels, and picking the right word and morphing them into the right story is so important. And as a writer, there's a mantra: show, don't tell. And for example, when I speak of story, I don't say tell your story, I say share it.
Mm.
Because when you choose the right words and you communicate it with the right energy, you show people who you are. I love the way you went like this with your jacket. It is the content of who you are, and people can know what to expect. And if they're your type of person and you have their solution need or their leadership alignment, it's magic made in heaven. In
It is.
heaven.
So I want you all to think about, as you're listening to this, I want you to think about how you view content. How do you view currently the things that you're creating? Do you honor and respect the opportunity you have? I mean, we do it all the time so flippantly, right? I did it this morning with some words I said to my daughter, even just the words I chose, as I was telling her to stop using the coffee machine because this event was starting, right? I didn't choose the most loving words, right? And that was a choice, right? And she came back later and said, Dad, it's totally cool, which is great. But we're constantly creating content. The way we react to other individuals is content, right? The words we speak, the texts we send, the calls we have, and then this, which is really curated content, Barbara, right, that goes out into the world. What would you say are some of the things you would recommend to any of us here who are running businesses, who are leading businesses around content? Do you have a few tips that you would say, really think about this in terms of what you're putting out into the world?
So let's talk about the science for a minute and get past that. It's got to be clear. You have to have a message and a story and all the words on your site that are clear, so people don't get confused. They understand what you can do for them, how you can help them. Clarity. But there are two wonderful pieces around clarity, which I think are wondrous. And the first of those is curiosity. I kind of tend to look at life and work through the lens of story. When you're curious, well, for one thing, you'll do research. That's kind of scientific. When you're curious, you have antenna, so that you are so aware of everything around you. And whether you're in a story or you're observing a story, you find an alignment to what you're doing in your business. You find out how you can use it as an aha. And honestly, you're grateful for that. It's a very glorious thing. It's kind of, oh, wow. And that wow is the fuel that inspires you and enables you to write or create or to speak good content. The other thing is captivation or compellingness. You know, you can say something and it's like a flat line. What if you changed it up? What if you lean forward or lean back or threw your arms around? What if you had a pregnant pause between sentences? Do you know, 5 days before my mother, who was a wondrous character, 5 days before she died, and she said it was her time, and my daughter said, Gammy, don't say that. And she said, oh, Meredith, it's my time. I've had a great life, great family, great friends. And then, even as sick as she was, there was a pregnant pause. And she said, great clothes. I couldn't have asked for a better life. I have told that story so many times and people love it, but it wasn't just what she said, although it was pretty cool for an almost 87-year-old woman who thought her life was coming to an end, and it did. But she, even then in her illness, had the sense of the pregnant pause. Let's hear it for the pregnant pause. But that's combined with the words, that way you present is what makes it compelling. It enables the show versus the tell. It brings those who are listening into your story, your words, and they feel they're one with you. They feel a connection. And there's also something about the how. I've decided that this is going to be the year of the how. How long have we all heard Simon Sinek, again, whom I love, talk about the why? And I'm a big proponent of the why because it's under the surface, right? It's heartfelt, it's purposeful, it's intentional. However, there are a lot of people who could profess to have the same why. So what makes that why distinctly yours? My friends, it is the how. It is very definitely the how. I was at a business meeting one day, and a gentleman who's a printer, who actually a lot of times has very basic, boring talks. But this one day, he got up and he said, I had a client the other day, and she came in and I gave her the work that we had printed. And she stood back and she took a deep breath and she said, I love this. And he stood up straight as he was telling the story. And he said, when she said that, it meant so much to me. And it wasn't about his ego, it was about his pride of ownership, his love for his work, his passion to serve his customers. That's a wonderful thing.
You know, as you say that, I want to make the observation that you talked about clarity. So if you all weren't listening, right? Clarity and compelling, right? Around this piece. And if you think about that to some degree, your why is about being just super clear as
Yep.
to why and exactly what I want to say, right? The what, right, of the situation, right? And the grounding of it. But the how, the compellingness is how it interacts with the other person from a sense of passion and feeling and emotion, all the other sides, right? That have to, because you can be very clear on your why, but it doesn't land with anyone because it didn't stir their heart, right? And that is the pregnant pause. I'm never going to forget your mom and the pregnant pause about clothes. It's just beautiful. What an
I told that
awesome.
story in her eulogy. And as I was walking out of the church, somebody grabbed my arm and said, would you write mine? And by the way, if that doesn't get your mother to heaven, nothing will. It was the greatest tribute I could pay to my mother, who was a fashionista and a
Awesome. Well, and she
clothesman.
clearly taught you the importance of the drama or the compellingness of our communication. So this has been really, really helpful for any of you all who are leaders, who are here to be better leaders, right? Think about not just the clarity, but the compellingness of your communication. Barbara, how can what I know we're going to give people a freebie. Tell people how they can work with you, what you do for them, and what the freebie is for them as we close this up.
Okay, well, I share my love of content and story and communication in two ways. I can do done for you content, or I can do done with you content when I kind of teach you and training the templates and the emotion and the practice of communicating well. So I do done for you work and I do done with you work. And in each of those scenarios, it always starts with a dig deep where people learn to find their gifts, where they actually, in doing that, become more clear about what they have to offer. And it enhances their certainty, their belief in themselves, their sense of empowerment. It helps them break through embarrassment and the fear of judgment and everything else. So when I say content, it's more than just words. It's the whole emotional, intentional, passionate, purposeful piece behind it.
Awesome. Well, that is an amazing offer. And definitely contact and reach Barbara, who's willing and ready and excited to serve. We've shared that in the chat here, and it's going to be in the replay in the content as well. So thank you so much, Barbara. Really appreciate you joining. Really appreciate your reigniting our concept of communication and content.
And I want to thank you. This really brightened my day and got me back in the saddle emotionally.
Oh,
And
good.
when it comes down to it, it's all about the feeling and the heart, as you said earlier.
Right, right. And the good thing is that you also delivered on the content, meaning you really helped some people, certainly me already just here, but those who will engage in really thinking about the content they're creating. So you've been a blessing as well as blessed.
And my link, you can always reach me through LinkedIn and Facebook in a DM fashion, but my link is barbaramm.com/chat. I don't know if it's in the chat, but I was a little late in getting it to you. So
All right.
please reach out to me, folks. I'd love it.
Awesome. Yeah, we did drop your freebie in the chat, so we're good there. Thank you so much.
Thank
Now,
you.